Welcome to Unity Now, the podcast where we discuss all things Unity 2020 with one goal in mind: increase awareness and grow the groundswell. To our new listeners and viewers, we offer an introduction to Unity 2020. Unity 2020 is an idea that started when Brett Weinstein announced the plan on the Joe Rogan Experience in mid-June. From there, the movement was born, and since then, tens of thousands of volunteers have signed up, organized, and have begun to create a groundswell of support. From an original primary style vote that selected 6 nominees, the Unity 2020 movement has drafted Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Crenshaw to be our candidates. I'm joined today by fellow Unity 2020 volunteers and members of the Unity 2020 leadership group, Meghan Case and Joe Masinick. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Toby. Thank you.
Hey, Toby. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great. I know you guys are very busy. Because we and the podcast team are also very busy. So to be involved in the steering committee and the leadership group, I can only imagine the hours it takes to be involved. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate you putting this podcast out. It's a great way for newcomers and our supporters to kind of get a more in-depth look into Unity 2020.
We agree, and we're trying to, that's the exact idea. So if you don't mind, both of you, if you could provide a brief introduction to our audience, kind of where you come from, what you guys each do for the movement, and then I think it'd be nice if you say, like, what do you guys normally do outside of attempting to save our country from the peril we see?
Meghan, do you want to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Meghan.
Sure. Yeah, I'll kick us off then. So I'm Meghan. I joined Unity when I heard about it from a friend really early on. So pretty much as soon as the call for volunteers was open, I put in my call, got an email, and joined on the Slack. And I think there were about 250 members when I joined. So there were a lot of opportunities for just kind of jumping in with 2 feet and getting your hands dirty and just kind of helping out wherever was needed. And that's kind of what I did. And I met some really cool people through it and kind of found a place that really needed a lot of work and was able to find a place with the marketing team. I guess a couple weeks ago, the steering committee was formed and I joined in that capacity as well. So I've been working closely with a lot of the leaders of the movement. And I would say one thing that is really unique about Unity and not surprising based on the name and the whole premise, but there, people come from all sorts of different backgrounds and beliefs and political ideologies and views, and everyone's really working together, putting those like largely aside, but also bringing in different perspectives to kind of make the best products and the best way forward possible. So I've really enjoyed that collaborative leadership that we are preaching out as a Unity principle, and then also practicing within our own leadership structure. So that's been a really cool part to be a part of. Let's see what I do outside of this. I have really followed passion projects for most of my career. I currently just finished working on a documentary about youth mental health. That should be coming out soon, hopefully in the next few months, although I've since moved on from that and am just helping out on a marketing-related initiative with someone that I met through that project. So that's really where I am. And luckily with the whole COVID situation, it's been, there's, for all the things that COVID has taken, it's also given some more opportunity, I think, for most of our volunteers that are so involved to kind of have that time and freedom to give so much to the movement.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for that. Joe, to you, same question.
Well, kind of like Meghan, I followed Joe Rogan, especially during COVID. Not much else to do than digest some podcasts. And I was exposed to the Dark Horse Duo, I believe it was called back then. And I think through Twitter, I found out through the emails that, there was this day of action coming up, and I was really excited about it because I wanted to see how I could help. And so on that day of action, I got connected with some really amazing people, from all walks, with all different backgrounds. And I realized that I wasn't as alone as I thought I was. And I found that at the day of action. And then I was just hooked, just like, I'm gone, because I could not stop just thinking about Unity, how I could help, the different ways that I could use my skill set to kind of push the movement forward. Because if you looked anywhere else on the internet, the world was burning down, or you're just head in the sand. And so I landed somewhere in between there. And so since then, I've been trying to help out marketing as much as I can with strategy, with press releases, with connecting the departments better. I do have a history of marketing and project management. And so that I've been able to pull that forward into Unity and help out there. Other than that, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I take care of my wife's parents. They have some health issues, so we help out there. And then right now I'm in the middle of teaching preschool. But any other hours, I'm working on Unity.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, like I said, it's great that the two of you can join us. So if you don't mind, we'll dive right in. So
Sounds
I think, to Meghan, the first question to you. Yesterday on the what's the second day of action, right? Or is it the third?
Right.
Second? Yeah.
Second, yep.
Second day of action, you announced the Unity Pledge. So if you could, for our audience, describe that for them.
Yes, sure. So we have just put up a Unity pledge at articlesofunity.org/pledge. And the premise behind this is, if you are a Unity supporter and you intend to vote the Unity ticket, we want you to take the Unity pledge, which says just that. And it's a really important metric for us on the movement end to kind of see how much support we have, and also on an outward facing angle too, to be able to say, like, look, this many people want to vote Unity if it's an option in the 2020 election. So I encourage all of you to go check it out. And then part of the pledge is really getting others involved too. So we want you to take the pledge, and then we want you to tell your friends and family and get, one person a day, get them to take the pledge as well. So that's our goal. We're doing, and you know what? We're doing it too. Like, I took the pledge last night, and today I've already been talking to my family and friends and encouraging them to go along over to articlesofunity.org/pledge.
Fantastic. And, on the show, the link is always right here, articlesofunity.org, right? So everyone check that out. Joe, did you take the pledge?
Oh, yes, I've taken the pledge. And also, too, I feel like I've been living the pledge. Well, a lot of the Unity members will be familiar with it and, reaching out to people, trying to bridge that gap that seems to be everywhere, talking to family members, talking to friends. These are the things that will, if you're hungry for Unity, this is a no-brainer. So excited to see all the response. Yeah,
I did this morning. So, and the same today. So we need to do that. Okay. So then from each of your standpoint, again, you're both relatively new to the movement, to the Slack channel, right? Even though you're both I think you're both kind of my boss, if I had to think about it, right? So the podcast has got to fall under marketing somewhere in that kind of org chart. So I'll try to be respectful to my superiors here. But from your experience in marketing and strategy, since early July, what can the Unity supporters do now that will help to continue to effectively build the groundswell? Joe?
Well, I'd have people walking around my neighborhood right now handing out flyers, little note cards on how you can be a better Democrat or a better Republican. So, I mean, you could maybe do that if you feel so inclined, but my best way is when I'm organically just in a grocery store, or if I'm on a chat for, trying to get some teaching material for my kids, and somebody all of a sudden drops a horrible political bomb in the middle of it. That's my opportunity. That's somebody just giving me a big old open runway to say, hey, have you guys checked out Unity? Because it's not as toxic as what I just read here. So I think that really embracing the idea that there can be a better tomorrow and everybody can come along with it is, you just find opportunities everywhere to do it.
Yeah, Joe, I love that. And I think that that's a big part of what this movement stands for beyond the political, right? Kind of engaging in these conversations and not being, I think people have gotten so turned off about politics these days, and for good reason. But this is kind of bringing bringing the nuance back to the conversation, bringing like being able to have a conversation without letting your very strong political beliefs like kind of derail any productivity there, right? So I think that's a really good point. That's really important. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't add that sign up for our email list. That's a really important way to support the movement and build our groundswell. If you're not already signed up, follow us on socials. If you haven't heard, we also have a Build the Movement campaign. This is hosted on Gleam, but there's a link to it right on our homepage at articlesofunity.org. This is a competition where you can do all the things that I'm talking about, like email signups, following us on socials, drafting your friends and family to join, joining our discussion forum at, what is the link? I guess it's articlesofunity.org/discuss. And you can do all of those things, but simultaneously be getting points for doing them. And the more points you get, the better chance you have of winning our prizes. So, of course, we're all here, all of our volunteers, and I think supporters too, because we really believe in the movement and the end goal, right, of restoring competency to the White House. But in the meantime, you could also get some immediate prizes. We have some one-on-ones with Brett up for grabs, as well as tickets to the inaugural ball should we be elected into the White House. So things you definitely don't want to miss. Go on to Gleam, check that out, and join the competition.
Gamification is always fun. It makes, I mean, you can save the Republic, and that's really important, but if you can have fun doing it, then that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's great. I was excited when I saw that link, and I signed right up, and hopefully we can get Brett on this show, and it won't count as my prize. But yeah, that's great. We'll post all these links in the show description, and we'll kind of remind viewers at the end of this as well to go to those links. So
yeah, and Toby, I'm really glad you keep bringing up the groundswell, because it really is the most important thing to our movement right now. In the short term with Unity 2020 and in general, just kind of showing that we have the support. It's what all of our next action steps really hinge on. So, you might think, oh, I'm just one person. Like, what's my one single pledge going to do? But really, it does a lot. And yeah, thank you for emphasizing that.
So there's a question that kind of comes out of what you just talked about, right? People, I know myself, I get a lot of emails in my personal email. And I also get a lot of emails in my work email. So my personal email, I just tend to let it go crazy. So for the people that say, wow, I don't want another email subscription to something, signing up and getting on this email list, what exactly is that going to do besides having another person you can send out emails to? How is that going to help you build the groundswell?
Well,
what do you think?
I think it's a good indicator of the groundswell. And also, too, I don't care how full your inbox is. If you got a new pair of tennis shoes coming to you, you're looking for that tracking order number. Like, you really want to see it. And so if you're looking for, hey, I want to have a better country for either, 2021 or for your kids or for your parents or for your brother-in-law, I mean, you're going to be hunting for that email in that email box, no matter how full it is.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, on this show, we try to also flush out, arguments that people might already have and try to let them hear what the responses might already be, right? So I just thought of that as you were going through that, Megan.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a good point. I mean, people are busy. They only have so much time. But one thing that has actually really impressed us about our supporters is we have an incredible email conversion rate, which means the number of people that get these emails and actually open it is extremely high for any kind of movement or initiative, let alone a political one. So we can't thank our supporters enough. And we hope to keep really engaging and interesting content in there. We do a lot of campfire announcements through email. We do a lot of action steps, like here's something you can do today to help us, to help the movement. And yeah, so hopefully it's stuff that people can look forward to, like Joe's saying.
Good. So since the two of you in marketing, I'll give you a chance to kind of go over maybe what is the overarching, Unity 2020 marketing strategy. And I think, Megan, you wanted to also touch on the movement, if it's shifting from Unity 2020 to Articles of Unity that we talked about earlier today. So either one of you, Megan, you want to start?
Sure. So I'll touch on that. And the reason that I think it's important to talk about here is because it's been brought up by a lot of our supporters. It's no secret that we're very close to the election, and people are starting to wonder, like, what does this mean if, we're not on the ballots yet? What does this mean if we don't get on the ballot? Where are we going from here? And like, the one thing that I can tell you right now is we are 100% focused on Unity 2020 right now. And we really need to be, from the standpoint of, if we have a shot, long as it may be, we have to have all of our focus on Unity 2020. And we intend to keep that focus there until Inauguration Day. With that said, we came here because we saw a problem in our country. And I think that based on our supporters and volunteers and how leadership is approaching this particular topic, we can safely say that we will be here and doing everything in our power to solve that problem until we're in a better place. So take that as you will. But another thing I wanted to touch on with this really quickly is, these initiatives aren't in competition with each other. The best thing for Unity 2020 is also the best thing for the movement right now. So no matter where you fall on I think it's more important to focus on the initiative, I think it's more important to focus on the movement, the action steps that you'll be doing are actually the same thing right now. So I think that really makes it very simple certainly for us in leadership, and hopefully for all of our supporters out there too.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Megan, those action steps lining up, I see that on the streets. That's what I think about every time I go and try to build something for Unity, is I'm actually trying to build Unity, not the organization, not the presidential campaign, but the real people-to-people Unity. Because right now I have tons of neighbors that are angry at each other just for having a sign that's not their sign on their lawn. And so if you were to approach the subject with them and say, hey, you know what, there's a better way, and kind of humanize each other again, build that community. Not only are you, helping out the Articles of Unity, you're also helping out your neighborhood. You're making it so that Christmas time is a little cheerier than it would be if everybody's at each other's throats. And I think we need more of that right now, especially with everything that's going on. Pick your part of the country and then the list of 10 things that are just nightmares right now. And then go, you know what, maybe we can make this just a little bit better tomorrow.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, it's so hard to see that, right? The polarization you can find on social media, you're seeing it literally in your neighborhood with yard signs. And it's part of that learned helplessness that Eric talked about in the first campfire with Brett. It's either that, or they think that they have to defeat that other side no matter what, because we've all then been divided into our groups, that it's so easy to tear each other down because, based on that yard sign, all you need to know about that person. And each one of you, based on where you come from, I can tell you all I need to know about you. So there's no need to have a nuanced conversation, right?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because a Trump sign or a Biden sign doesn't tell you how many kids you have, or if your mom's sick, or, if you're a veteran of the war, or if you're, any type of personality that really makes you an individual. If you're you're a baseball lover, or if you like video games, that's not on that sign. That's just, if it's Trump, Trump or Biden, those things don't tell you anything about the person other than why you might not like them. When in actuality, you have way more in common than you'd ever know.
Absolutely. I noticed yesterday at our second day of action, a lot of volunteers kind of brought up a similar topic about kind of how we are so quick to make assumptions about other people based on these, like the signs that we see, or, various factors of what people do. And it's been really inspiring to see our volunteers kind of say, we're done with this. We want to look beyond the surface and kind of engage people regardless of what we might initially think that they are or aren't like, and I think that that's a great thing to see people start doing in their own communities. And it's something we're trying to do in our campfire series too. So, Brett has the initial campfire, but we have just started a Campfire X with some of our leaders, and we are really trying to kind of model that within ourselves, and then hopefully inspire others to engage in conversation and stuff like that as well, kind of going forward. And on that note, one other thing that I just came to my attention this week is that some of our our city chapters, so now we have, I want to say about 30 chapters around the country of Unity, like local chapters. And some of them have just started these community campfires within their own groups. And it's a place exactly for the kind of conversation that we've been talking about. And it's been really incredible to watch these people come together and just have a space to really voice their opinions without judgment. You don't have to be in agreement, but you come because you want to hear somebody else's perspective, or you want to share what you have to say. And it's really great to see Unity inspiring these spaces, because I think it's something that in the COVID world, but even before that, in the world of technology, we've really lost.
Yeah, and I bet at the community level campfires, well, they could even kind of put the metaphor aside, have some actual campfires every now and then, right?
Yeah, I believe the San Diego chapter is doing an in-person campfire. I didn't ask if they were actually having the fire, but I wouldn't be surprised. They're very motivated in San Diego.
I'm outside of Detroit. I hope if we do have a campfire, it's a legitimate one, because it's going to get cold here soon.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. I come from Indianapolis, and I'm right there with you. Not quite as cold, but yeah.
It's going to be frosty.
It will be, yeah. And I don't know, maybe, again, we presume everyone watching this might be a supporter and a volunteer already, but let's talk to the people that are brand new to this podcast or the movement. And let's touch on the campfire metaphor a little bit. I know Brett tries to describe it a little bit every time, but why do we use the metaphor of campfire for our new listeners or viewers?
Maggie, you want to take this, or do you want me?
You can go. I'll go off of whatever you say.
Well, as Brett so keenly stated, that campfires are a place to meet and celebrate, but in also times of dire need, they're a place to gather around and figure out what we can do about the problems of the day. And then I'm from a little bit more of a religious background. I also see it as a light in the darkness. And that's what I really believe that Unity is. And hopefully that's a good enough description of what he said.
You nailed it. I don't even have anything to add.
Agreed. Yeah. From ancient times, before we had all these lights and electricity, right? What did they do at night? They were done hunting. They couldn't go out and gather and hunt and all those things. So that's what they did. Yeah. Well, great. And so to pivot a little bit, and let's talk about what the next steps are, right, with building the Groundswell. And the hot topic now is ballot access. So on episode 6, the last one, I spoke with volunteers, Keelan and Mikey, and they both tend to lean libertarian. And we tried to flesh out reasons why the two existing independent parties, why their supporters shouldn't be interested in Unity 2020, and then why they should as a counter argument. So how do you two think we're going to continue to spark that interest among those groups, in a way that proves why we should join forces, but it also doesn't ruin all of their hard work for their two groups?
Let me touch on this quick, and then Megan, you can kind of follow up, and if you want to correct me, you can. But I don't see it as taking away someone's hard work. If Unity has the proper message of holding the country together, we don't want to ruin Republicans' hard work, Democrats' hard work. We don't want to ruin Green, Libertarians, Unity, anybody in the country. We want to bring them all along. And so really, it's up to us to show that Unity is a great enough idea that it would make sense for everybody to join. And even the politically disengaged, which is another thing that we really want to talk to, or I shouldn't say thing, but people we want to talk to. And I think as long as we keep our eye on the idea that we are trying to heal and make the country a better place tomorrow, then it shouldn't be a hard sell for anybody, doesn't matter what color they wear, to come along with us.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Joe. I think that if we were to vote today, the Libertarians, I don't think that there's probably no one out there who thinks the Libertarians would, or the Greens, or any of these third parties would take the White House, right? So what we're offering here is to join forces with a groundswell bigger than what they could accomplish, or any one party really could accomplish on their own. I mean, even Unity, we're not a party. We're a combination of different beliefs, different ideologies with a core value of we want to save the Republic because we believe it's in jeopardy. So that kind of, their power in numbers, right? So bringing people together with this common mission, I think is the most important thing. And I'm sure there will be a lot of third-party supporters who might not be keen on the idea at first. But I think with the patriotic goal in mind that we have, many of them could be persuaded, as well as combining with our supporters already. What's your take on that, Toby?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that's why I liked our voting system when we were trying to draft candidates and kind of rank ordered choice. And so when I talk to any political spectrum, reds, blues, greens, yellows, it doesn't matter to me. It's if you're a libertarian, it's the same idea is that, we can all come around and we have kind of these base principles and these base ideals and dreams and hopes that we all can agree on. And even though we might not agree on what the top thing or our most important thing to us would be, we can agree on that base level stuff. And that can go for candidates too. And I think that's the real pitch. I know Brett was in talks with Joe Jorgensen over the weekend, and I really think that's what he was trying to hit on, and not really, ruin anybody's hard work, but more bring everybody together to coalesce all the hard work.
For sure.
And go ahead, Megan.
I think that it's in any third party's best interest to get a Unity ticket into the White House. Unity, a big part of our mission is to really offer the public a choice other than this two-party system that we're seeing today. And just getting that kind of corruption out of the government, it would be huge for any third party in the future. We, as Joe mentioned, we held a ranked choice vote for our Unity primary. We would certainly advocate for ranked choice voting from the Oval. That's something that many third parties support and would actually, I think, serve them well in the future. Just having the support of a Unity groundswell would do a lot for their party in the future as well. I think, and you know what, even in the immediate, there's a lot of positions to be filled once a ticket takes the White House. And if a third party were to extend ballot access to us, I'm sure that we would be able to negotiate something as far as other positions go down the line.
Well, I don't know about filling roles, but what I do know is that if we have a co-party or a generalized unification type system in the executive branch, president doesn't stop there. Think of all the positions. It doesn't matter if they're where they come from, or if they're a third party or a main party. You can pick the best of the best to run the country, to help heal the country. And so the shackles come off on all of our potential. And that includes bringing the best and the brightest ideas from the Greens or the Libertarians as well. And I think that's what we really need right now, not just, what color my pin is on the side of my jacket.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the question is, do you want to be able to say you voted for your independent party candidate, whoever they are now, or do you want to say you helped save the Republic, and restored balance to the people and power to the people? And I think that's one of the things I keep thinking about is how important it is that we don't lay out, here are the Unity 2020 top 10 agenda items, and this is what we're going to do. These are our policies. this is how we're going to vote this way or that way. It's because it's not about that. It's about restoring power to the people. These elected candidates do not work for anyone but the registered voters.
And I think that's pretty wise because we can't get mired in policy because people disagree on policy, but we can agree that we don't want it to be worse tomorrow than it was yesterday. And if you want to talk about the top 10 things that, every party wants to do, I mean, I'm putting a Coke machine in the cafeteria. This isn't high school, presidential race. We want to actually encourage the growth, the conversation, the connections necessary between both sides of the aisle and every walk in order to make it better. Because we know that, we got COVID, we have social unrest, we have climate change issues. I mean, the list just keeps going on. I don't think anybody disagrees with what we face. It's just how we get there.
Yeah, I say I don't envy the two of you and any of your team in marketing. I mean, we're 2 weeks away, since the Articles of Unity account was banned on Twitter, something like that, right? And it's still banned. So you don't have that aspect or that avenue to market our ideas in the movement. And then, it's something odd. I was looking at Twitter this morning, and I always check what is trending. Right? I'm sure most of us do, or a lot of us do. And today's the return of the NFL. So football was trending on almost every topic. I think politics had a couple toward the bottom. So are we in danger of, the public at large getting just a little taste of normal? Are they going to forget the peril we're in? And how are you guys going to keep the marketing strategy up through all of those problems?
Well, I think too that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't a distraction that exists right now where politics isn't overflowing into it. And I can cite the NBA. I can cite a number of different cases where you go to, unplug from reality for a little while, but it doesn't matter. It's still there. It's still being representative. And even if you're just going to, for a walk, you're still reminded that everybody's wearing a mask or some people aren't wearing a mask. These problems that we face, you can't escape them, but we can fix them. And I feel that for the people who are trying to bury their head in their sand or they're unplugging, there's not really a place you can go anymore without it. So instead of, trying to pick a side, red or blue, what we're proposing and why I think that unity will work is that as long as we believe that there's a middle ground, people will stand on it. And the people who are unplugged right now are trying to run away from this problem. We want to make sure that there is a place for them to come, that they can feel like an American, that they don't have to hate their neighbors just because they have a sign on their lawn, and then they can feel proud about what they do in November.
Yeah, Joe, I think that's a great point, especially about how politics is really seeping into everything, or at least the problems that our society faces. And I think that, there traditionally a good portion of our society chooses not to exercise their right to vote. And I would say to that portion, now it's more important than ever. And it's really the best time to kind of stand up and have your voice be heard as, things are crumbling around us in many levels. So, we are even seeing within our own volunteer ranks that 25% of our volunteers were not planning on voting in this election if unity isn't an option. So I don't know if they've changed having been involved in the organization or not, but coming in, that's a good percentage. That is a big enough percentage that if it were extrapolated to all voters, that's enough to win with that alone. So, anytime you think like, oh, my vote doesn't really matter, remember that.
Yeah, that's what Jesse Ventura pointed out on his Campfire with Brett, right? That's kind of basically how he won in Minnesota, the governorship, the voters who weren't going to vote.
Yeah. And I think unity is a very appealing option for non-voters or people who previously haven't been engaged in politics because, those are we're here for everyone. But I think that we really appeal to those people who are just fed up with partisanship and don't want to have to choose and don't want to feed into corruption on either end. This is a safe haven where they can be represented.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's why I find it so attractive and why I fell in love with it so quickly, was that at least I know that my life circumstances are different from anyone else's, but I still want to be able to participate and make a positive change on the things that we can agree about, on the things that we can move forward with. And while I'm sure it's a red or a blue person would, sit in and, get dug in on something that like they just cannot meet on, we shouldn't tear down the 98% that we do agree on just because we can't agree on the 2%. So when I stand with unity, I stand with the 98% that we all agree on. And I refuse to let the other 2% of politically active people who are screaming the loudest on the internet right now or on TV to tear something down that we all know and love.
Agreed. So we've all kind of referenced it throughout this conversation, the peril, the danger, what we're headed to in November. I know what I believe as far as what will happen if this doesn't work. What are the two of you? How do you view the election and what happens afterward if Donald Trump or Joe Biden one of them happened to win?
All right, so a universe where Unity 2020 doesn't exist. Okay, I'd say that either way, we're in for a really dark Q4 Christmas season. And it's because if we aren't out there telling our neighbors, telling our friends and family that we can sit down around a Thanksgiving dinner table and have a civil discussion because we're on the same page about everything else, maybe not just this one thing that we don't agree on, then, COVID lockdown, that's going to seem like a walk in the park. And I don't want to have that happen. And that's why I think Unity 2020 is the way, we need to go and we need to walk together doing it.
Yeah, Toby, I tend to agree with what Joe's saying here. But I've really tried especially in the last couple months to not think about the question as you framed it, but rather reframe it a bit in what would a Unity 2020 presidency look like? Like what would a world where Unity 2020 was successful look like? And it's a much brighter future in my mind. It's a happier place to even think about. And that's a question that I often like to turn around to people. Like what do you think Unity 2020 would look like if we were operating under that? So, yeah, that's where my focus is right now.
Fair enough. Yep. I think I'm still in the stage of trying to convince some people. And so we're, like I mentioned before, Indianapolis, Indiana, the state's mostly red. And I think I try to explain to people that even if they believe Donald Trump is the good way to go and he's not just the lesser of two evils, that if they're not paying attention to what's going on in like Portland and cities where the riots are still going on, and they don't think that's going to escalate to something much worse if Donald Trump were to win, then they're sadly mistaken. So I'm still trying to educate some of those folks to that point. But I like how you reframe that question. And so what would it look like? And maybe I should ask that question more often.
Yeah. Well, I do want to go back to your comments on Twitter really quickly. Because you're right, it has been a loss to not have the official Twitter account, as so much of especially political conversation happens on Twitter these days.
Right.
And it's something that I know Brad has been very vocal about. Some of you might have heard him most recently. I think this might have just been released this morning on Rising. But, Twitter has had ample time to reverse this decision to suspend us and conduct their own internal investigation. We conducted our own internal investigation as well. But in the meantime, what we have done, and this is a large testament to really our volunteer force and what our movement stands for. But we've created an account called AO Unity Phoenix, and this account will point to a volunteer who has stepped up to be our flag bearer. And in this case, the flag bearer means someone who will communicate all official Unity news to any follower. So if our supporters just follow the Phoenix, our AO Unity Phoenix, and then they'll see who the flag bearer is, and they can go to that account, and any official tweet from the flag bearer will start with AOU and then whatever the tweet is. So this is, a really, I think, powerful way for our volunteers to kind of say, like, we will not be silenced. We are all unity, and it's been great to see them step forward.
And let's give it up for those flag bearers. I mean, that's a hefty weight to throw on your shoulders, especially because, there's some, mighty trolls out there. But I do think that having a place to go to, at least, even if it's on a platform that doesn't like us right now, we can make space anywhere, and we can find clever ways to do it. And I'm really happy that, because COVID pushed everybody online and social media, and it was really scary. And, because then that was their interaction. But unity came out of that, and friendship, and, new ways to communicate, and new ideas about how to sidestep censorship are coming out of that. And I think that's really inspiring, and I hope to see more of it in the future.
Are you guys sure you're not Russian bots? Yeah, that's a great point. We'll put that up on the page as well. And that, once again, that was AOU Phoenix.
AO Unity Phoenix.
AO Unity Phoenix. Yep.
Okay. And
So
if the flag bearer,
yeah.
yes, and if the flag bearer is suspended, then a new one will take his place or her place. So that's why it's important to follow that Phoenix account, and then whoever the flag bearer of the day is. Getting creative. What else can we do now, right?
Well, absolutely. When it was suspended, it had, 24,000 followers, something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that was, our email list has grown substantially in the 2 weeks that the account has been down, so I can only imagine what the growth would have been on Twitter as well.
Yeah, that's great that we're going to not let that stop us and just be pragmatic and find a way around that wall.
And I think we have to be clever. We have to do that in order to win. And not just win for the election, but just, win the day. Like, show that we can actually make a positive change in the world. And so again, my heart goes out to all the flag bearers and for all the people supporting on Twitter Articles of Unity that weren't able to before. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I know, Joe, you have the hard stop at 6:15 recording time. So
yeah, I hope you can't hear my kids thundering around upstairs.
I hear nothing. So do each of you want to give final thoughts, what you would like to say to our volunteer base or to the people that are thinking about joining?
I think for me, just real quick, just keep hope alive. Like, as soon as you stop believing in the middle ground, that's when it goes away. So keep believing, and just remember that you're the one we need. And I hope that you remember that when you get in those tough conversations with people.
Well said, Joe. I absolutely agree with that. And I would just add, there's a place for you here. Unity is for everyone, and we will welcome you in with open arms. And I look forward to meeting you if I haven't already, and to our volunteer staff and our supporters that we already have. Thank you for being early adopters of this crazy idea that's actually not so crazy once you get into it, right? My dad asked me today, like, kind of how it was being received, like if this was kind of being if we were being looked at as a radical group. And I said, well, I like to think that we're the reasonable group on the spectrum, but there's definitely a risk, as Brett's talked about a lot as well, like to kind of standing up for something you believe in, even when it's not popular. So to all the early adopters, thank you. We're so grateful to know you and work with you. And to the people who are on the fence thinking about it, join us, please. We would love to have you.
And thank Toby for hosting us. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, that's the easy part. I appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, we know you're very, very busy and spend many, many hours on top of your normal lives, contributing to the movement and making sure the message is heard. So to Joe and Meghan, thank you very much for taking the time, and we hope to have you again on sometime soon.
Be my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Okay, guys. So with that, that's the end of the episode. Be sure to follow Unity Now on Twitter. Go to articlesofunity.org and go through all the links that we talked about in the show that Meghan brought up, and follow AO Unity Phoenix on Twitter for the flag bearer of the Articles of Unity suspended account. And with that, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.